Good evening and welcome to The Author's Corner with your host, author Kimberly McLemore, as she welcomes her guests into the studio to discuss excerpts of their book.
All right, good evening and welcome to the Author's Corner. I am your host, author Kimberly McLemore, and thank you for tuning into tonight's show. Tonight I have two amazing guests in store for you, but let me just take a couple of minutes and tell you just a little bit more about who I am and the purpose of the show. I am the author of How to Be a Success by Just Being You, Are You Living or Existing? The Pros and Cons of Balancing Life, and the 2019 ILA Award Author of the Year for Social Awareness for my book, Memoir, Deception of the Heart, A Real Look into Domestic Violence. I am also the CEO of the Women's Small Business Initiative, LLC, the host of the podcast, Your Resource for Success, also right here on iHeartRadio, and the founder of Author Kimberly M. McLemore, LLC. But of course, the purpose of this platform is to provide new or existing authors an opportunity to tell us their story, promote their books, and let's find out what they have coming up. But let me just introduce to you my very first special guest, Kristi Guillory Reid, author of Harper Counts Her Blessings. Kristi has always loved to write, and she's thrilled to now add the title author to her resume with her first book, Harper Counts Her Blessings. Harper Counts Her Blessings shows how the events of an ordinary day turn out not to be so ordinary when you truly reflect upon the blessings in your life. It's a story that highlights themes of reflection, gratitude, and appreciation that both parents and children will enjoy. A proud native of Opelousas, Louisiana, hopefully I said that right. Kristi resides in Virginia with her husband Efrem and daughter Harper. Kristi is a graduate of Loyola University, Carnegie Mellon University, and Duke University Law School. So without further ado, help me welcome to my platform guest author Kristi Guillory Reid and our very special guest Harper. Good evening, ladies. How are you?
Good evening, Kimberly. We're doing well. Hi.
Hey, Harper. Oh, like I say, most people don't know that in the back, in our, as we call it, our green room, we're back there chit-chatting and talking a little bit before we get on. And I'm so excited to let people know that, Harper, which I didn't say before today, that, you were going to be on the show. So we get to hear all about who you are and the story that you helped your mom put together. So I'm real excited to talk to both of you. But Harper, before we get to you, I'm going to let mom talk for a few minutes. And Kristi, why don't you just tell us a little bit more about who you are and what made you decide to get into writing a book?
Sure. A little bit about me. I think, we learned a little bit about me in the bio. I'm from Opelousas, Louisiana. I know it's a little hard to pronounce, but I've been in the D.C. area, probably almost 20 years now. I am an attorney. Most of my work is in the healthcare sphere, but I've always had this kind of nagging desire and passion for writing. I've written different things throughout the years. I've done restaurant reviews. I did an op-ed for CNN on a healthcare issue. So I've kind of always been writing little bits here and there, but I think it was a conversation that I had with my mentor a few years ago, probably maybe 2017, where she just, we were just talking about things that I like to do, and she just said, why don't you write a book? And I looked at her kind of cross-eyed. I was just like, what are you talking about? I know nothing about writing a book. She said, why? It's something you've been talking about with writing. Why don't you just take it to the next level? And honestly, I think it was, definitely God's will for me to do this because things fell into place very rapidly and things, and also beautifully. I was able to connect with another children's book author who put me in contact with my wonderful illustrator. So definitely this was part of God's plan for me to write this book. But even before then, it was the task of, okay, I want to write, but what am I going to write about?
Right.
I knew I wanted to, I always write about things that are happening in my life, currently. Mm-hmm. And at that point, my daughter Harper was 4, so I was consider myself an expert on 4-year-olds. This is the world I was she's
right.
now 7, But I knew a couple things. I quickly decided it's going to be a children's book, and also for me, definitely something that had a positive element. I wanted to, any imprint that I leave, I wanted it to be something positive. So I just started thinking about the routines and the things Harper was doing at that point. And I know one thing we were doing in our home was kind of at the end of every day teaching her to pray as part of that conversation. And it's a lot of things right from our own home or in the book. She's getting ready to go to bed, and she says, I don't know what to pray about. And as part of our nighttime routine, we'd say, well, think of everything that you did today that you can be grateful for. So that would start our conversations, kind of going through her day and saying, you can be grateful for anything, big and small. So, I started thinking about that's how the gratitude concept started. Really wanting to not make the book, the religion is not a focus of the book, but really teaching children that as they think about their day, they can be grateful, like I said, from the smallest to the largest thing, and also making it a book that families can read together and make some of these things as part of their nightly ritual, nightly, daily, however you want to call it. But that's kind of how it all kind of came to pass. It's really looking at the things Harper was doing, thinking about the values we were trying to impart to her and our family, and just kind of took off from there.
Well, I tell you, that is a huge jump considering that you've dealt more in the health area, and then here you're a lawyer. You have all these other things, like you said, kind of wrapped around what you've done personally, but then to take and utilize the time of looking at your family and the little things that kids do. And like you said, we all, of course, think we're experts because we've raised our own kids, we know it all. But the beauty about this is that I love how you've incorporated Harper and making Harper understand what it really means to count your blessings. So let's just talk a little bit more about the process of putting this book together, because a lot of people don't understand that being an author is not just more about just writing the book. Talk a little bit about your experiences that you had going through the process of putting together, especially a children's book, because it's a whole different ball game when you're dealing with a children's book versus your regular type of books that we read, pretty much day to day, which are, any other books that aren't dealing with a lot of graphics and things that you have to interpret in a different way. So talk a little bit about that experience.
Sure, and I just wanted to mention one other thing. Something else that was important to me was definitely to have a positive, Black, strong African-American family represented.
Exactly.
And also a strong African-American little girl as the primary character of the book. So that was also very, very important to me as I thought about this book, because there seems to be definitely a void in that type of literature. There's so many authors that I've come to know now, but there still is such a void in children's books with African-American families. But back to the actual process, it was a bit different for me because I'm used to writing much, using a lot more words. Use complicated words, longer sentences. So I first had to, for me, just come up with the concepts, and then when I started to actually write, it was really paring it down. I would write a lot, and working really close with my illustrator, have to think about it's a child reading this. So, and especially that my book is pretty much geared toward, I guess, 3 to 6 year olds, maybe 3 to 7 year olds. So you don't want a lot of words on a page. What makes children's books good, very appealing to children, it's really the illustrations. The words definitely play a critical role, but the illustrations are so important. Something that's eye-catching to children, that's what's going to get their attention. Once you get their attention, then I think it's easier for them to learn the concepts. So I tell people I am not gifted in that realm, so that's why I relied on my illustrator. And and that actually that was a process, sending him, I would just snap pictures. I had pictures of us, pictures of Harper, even pictures from her room, things. I wanted to make it a lot of things that we are actually real. And it took, for him to see a picture, because we only met once, and I think the book was pretty much almost done. So it was, and he's very, very talented and has now gone on to write a New York Times bestseller. I think he's won a Newbery Award. Yes, he has definitely come into his own. I was very, very lucky to work with him, and that's why I credit how this book really looks like us. Because I told her in the process, I told Jerry, his name is Jerry Kraft, I said, make me, being me, Kristi, make me last in terms of drawing everyone. I said, we've got to get Harper. That was the focus, making her look like Harper, the character in the book. And then people, it's funny, we've gone to book fairs and people walk up to us, they'll look at the cover because it has all three of them, and they're like, that's your husband, that's you, that's Harper. So,
right.
The responses are, it's real. It's not like saying, who are these people? But yeah, that took, it took a while. It also getting, learning, what makes a book, again, also appealing. You've got the words, but kind of injecting a little bit of humor, thinking about things kids like to see. There's a pet in the book, thinking about all those special touches that make a book enjoyable. It just, to me, it was a very enjoyable process. I was able to learn a lot. It really opened my eyes to, this is how children's books are written. A completely different line of business for me, but I'm so happy with how it has come out. How the book ended up, and how people are really appreciated receiving this book, receiving the message of gratitude and thankfulness. And I think particularly now, considering everyone's lives, our lives have all been changed this year.
Absolutely.
I think even adults, we could all stand to sit back and count our blessings. So I think this message is even more timely as we speak in this time of this pandemic.
Absolutely. And, it's amazing how when you think about what you're doing up front, nobody would have thought that we would be in something so serious. We do have things happen to us personally in our lives, but then, this has affected everybody in every type of way. So our lives have definitely been turned around. But the thing that I love that you talk about is the fact that, it makes everybody sit back and rethink about what they've been doing, what has happened in their lives, and how blessed they are still to be here. We all have, I'm sure everybody has known somebody or know somebody who's lost loved ones during this time of the pandemic. And it's been a very tough 2020 years. So to be able to sit back and think about those little things. And like you said, too, when you're talking about the writing aspect of it, when you're an author, even if you're not writing a children's book, I have learned that it's not about always how big the words are. It's just the value and the content that you provide so that somebody's actually learning and really containing that information, because sometimes I find myself personally, if I'm reading something that's very large and very long and it doesn't get to the point, you can kind of lose them. So I always think it's really great to kind of get to that point. And then, like you said, of course, with children, those illustrations are very, very important because it really connects the dots for them as they are hearing the words being either they're reading to themselves or somebody's reading it to them.
Exactly. It's like I said, I've just been so blessed myself with how things have gone since the book. I've been able to do readings, of course, prior to the pandemic. It's like we always have to say pre-2020,
right.
Readings at local schools. I've been able to participate in book fairs and be on other podcasts. So I've been able to try to tell others, as wide an audience that I can, find, tell people about the book. So I've been, people have received it very positively.
Wow, that is amazing. And I just want to chime in here again, for those who are just listening in, we are live here on the Author's Corner, and I have two very special guests with me this evening. I have Kristi Guillory Reid and Miss Harper Reid, who are the authors of Harper Counts Her Blessings. And so now I want to dive into the book a little here, and I definitely want to talk to my friend Harper. Hello, Harper.
Hi.
Hey, yay. I just love your voice. You're just the cutest thing. You're welcome. You are so welcome. So Harper, you want to tell the listeners a little bit more about who Harper is and what you've been up to. I mean, school's in and all that good stuff. So tell us just a little bit more about you.
I'm 7 years old. I'm in second grade. School's been going good for me.
Well, that's good. So you like it being at home? You kind of miss some of your friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty different. Everything has been different. But do you get an opportunity? I mean, obviously you're involved in this book that your mom had wrote. So have you been able to share with your friends, like online, your story?
I read it when I was in school last year, but I haven't been able to share the book with my friends online yet.
Oh, well, that's the next cool thing that you can do. That's pretty neat though, that you did at least have the opportunity to, have the opportunity in school to read it. So at least all your friends could see it then. So Harper, can you tell me a little bit more about the book? Do you maybe want to read a little out of the book?
Sure.
Okay.
The book was right to us, so, yep. Okay. I'm ready for bed now. Can you read me a story? You're not ready for bed yet, Harper. You forgot to say your prayers. Oh, right. I know what to do. Watch. First, I get on my knees. Then, I close my eyes. Next, I get quiet so I can talk to God. Now, I'm ready. But, Daddy, I don't know what to say. Sure you do. Just think of everything you did today that you're thankful for.
Would you like her to read a little bit more? Or
I'm going to ask her a quick question. So Harper, when you, after reading that, and obviously you've seen it before, but what do you really think about when you are saying your prayers? And then you were kind of confused when you were told to just think about, well, what do I pray for? What do you think about every day when you pray?
I think about my family, to keep them safe and healthy. Make sure they don't get sick. That's about it.
But that's important. And then you want to stay safe and healthy for yourself too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful prayer to have, because we all need to stay safe and we all want to stay healthy, because it's really some tough times out there. So that's a great prayer. And if you'd like to pick out another favorite part of your book and read, you're more than welcome to do so.
Sure. Oh, I see the page I like. I love when Daddy drops me off at school, and I really like his special Daddy hugs. And dress up day at school was so much fun. I wore my superhero costume. Mommy and Daddy tell me that I can do anything and be anything.
Beautiful.
I know I...
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
She was done with that page.
Okay. So in that portion, you talk about being a superhero. Well, we got October is coming around the corner pretty soon. What's your favorite superhero?
That would be Black Panther.
There you go. Yeah, I'm kind of sorry that we lost him this year too. It's been kind of a sad year. We've lost a lot of really nice, important people, but those are those type of decisions that we don't get to make, and we just, have to understand that, he's in a better place now. But I'm glad that he's your favorite superhero. Did you get to rewatch the show?
Yep.
Yeah, because they've been showing it quite a bit. So, also you read in your book, you talked about, going to school and you love your daddy hugs. And now that you're not being able to actually leave home and go to school on a regular basis, do you still get those daddy hugs, though, before you start your classes?
Yep. I always get daddy hugs.
Wow. Well, you are a special young lady, Harper, and it's amazing that, you're on the cover of your own book and you're just a cutie pie. And I'm so excited that you've had this opportunity to be on your book. And who knows, maybe your next book, you'll get to write another one all on your own.
Maybe.
Yeah. Your kids are the experts. You're teaching us a few things. You know that, right? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Harper, do you have anything else you want to say to the listeners? Anything else you want to share?
Buy my mom's book. Come on, do it.
Nothing like promoting and marketing yourself, right? You go.
Selfless promotion right there. Selfless promotion.
Nothing wrong with that. Hey, you got to learn somewhere, right? But that's beautiful. Well, Harper, we will definitely make sure that, people, they're listening, and we definitely want them to buy. And, we've been promoting you, and we're going to make sure we keep doing that, because I think you're a very special young lady. And like I said, it's an amazing thing that you can be on the cover of your own book, and you're actually telling an amazing story about you and your family and all the blessings that you encounter every day. And I think that's beautiful. You are a very sweet young lady. So you keep being sweet for me, though, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Harper. All right. So, Miss Kristi, is there anything that you would like to share with listeners about, if they came and asked you, what does it mean to be an author and how do you start? What advice would you give them?
I think a lot of people have a quote-unquote book or a story inside of them, and they are often daunted by the process. I was too, like, oh my goodness, how does this work? Or I can't do it. I think to just kind of remove the self-doubt. I think if that desire is in you, take it to its natural conclusion. Just do what you need to do to get the book written. I mean, it's just, network. I found for me, networking with other authors is also very important, because you have someone that you can ask questions to, and maybe might be able, like I said, in my case, I was able to network and find my illustrator that way. But I think really it's just kind of listening to that inner voice and saying, you know what, I can do this, and then start to think about what would you like to write about, because there's so many different genres. Sometimes people feel like they are in a box. There's so many different types of books that people can write, or it may not even be a book. It may be maybe an editorial, maybe a story, but just taking that time to just really think about, is this something that I want to do, and really just saying, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I think for me, it didn't take that long to do the actual writing. I think the illustrations took a bit longer, which is, like I said, the heart of a children's book. And I say, too, to someone, give yourself some time and some flexibility, because I wasn't in a rush, and I was grateful I was working with someone that, we weren't on a timetable. We would tweak things, and a lot of times I thought he might have thought I was maybe too picky, but we go back and forth over illustration on a page a couple of times. So it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of like Nike, just do it, which may sound a little trite, but I think, there's no harm in doing that. There's no harm in, because you could never know where this interest can take you. I never would have thought, 5 years ago, I'd be talking about a children's book. Just wasn't on my radar. Completely wasn't. So your interests change over time. What you want to do changes. It's just amazing where life can take you. And now I have the pleasure of speaking with you, Kimberly, speaking with other people about this experience. And I've love when people come up to me and ask me questions. How did you do this? And I mean, another thing too, I would say one thing maybe how I would have improved upon my process is thinking about the marketing, because it's one thing to have a great book, but if no one knows about it, well, it's sit on your shelf, and that's a big part of the book business. It's marketing, and nowadays, there's social media. That's a whole nother layer of marketing. But just thinking about how are you going to actually get your product out and into the hands of potential customers.
Absolutely. And, and like you just said, I mean, that's the key word is most people don't understand it even after you go through this large process of, writing the book, getting it prepared and you have it in your hands, and it's like, okay, what do I do next? And, what the biggest thing that you said is that it's a business, and that's where people forget. It's not just, hey, I'm writing a book and then I'm just going to start handing it out. The reality is that it's like any other business. You have all types of other things that come with that process. And then when you start selling those books, you still have to pay Uncle Sam. You still have to do all the same things that you would do with any other business. And that's a key word that you just said.
Yeah, and I think, I would add on to that, it's setting up. You have to also set up a business. That's one thing. I'm just going to sell a book. No, I ended up forming my own LLC because, like you said, you want to pay your fair share to Uncle Sam. And it's you may not necessarily, I don't know, people who may get rich off one book, but you've just got to, you've got to pay your taxes. You got to pay, you've got to research all of this. and kind of get a handle on, if you want to be an author, there is a business portion to this that you can't ignore. I mean, and not to discourage people, it's just the reality of it.
Absolutely. And that's the key. And I think that a lot of times that is lost in being, an author myself and training people how to self-publish the books. That's a huge part that I discuss, because people do forget that, because they're like, oh, I'm just doing it for my family, or I'm just, but if you're making money, you can't hide that, so business is business. And, whether we understand it or not, and like you said, yes, obviously, if it's a new book and this is a new thing that you're into, the marketing part is very difficult. You may not make all the money that you want to up front, but as you learn and you continue to grow, you will continue to, have your return on your investment, as, when you're looking at in that aspect of it. So, people do need to understand the importance of being in business and setting up that business properly, like you did as an LLC. And so, I think that's an amazing lesson that you learned, and you're still learning, like you said, when it comes down to the marketing piece of it. And then I do like the advice that, as authors, the big thing is just do it. Just try it. It may be difficult. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days when it comes to writing. But at the end of the day, you will come up with that end result. And like I always tell people, you have a story. Everybody has a story. And there's always somebody out there to listen, right?
Exactly.
All right. Go ahead.
I would like people where they can potentially buy the book if they're interested. I'd like to mention that.
Absolutely. I was just getting ready to ask you that question.
Okay.
Kristi, where can they find the book at?
They can find it on Amazon, and they can also find it on my website, which is harpercountsherblessings.com. And that's, where you can find out a little bit more about me. There's some pictures of my family, pictures of me doing some book readings, but the book is available on my website. It's on Amazon. I believe it might also be on Walmart.com as well.
Awesome. That is great. And then are you guys going to be getting the book into any libraries?
Yes. I think it has been circulated in Fairfax County, that library system. They have the book. I think the way it works, they have to rotate it through a number of libraries. I don't think it stays in one library.
Okay.
It rotates through the system, and I'm definitely, investigating some other libraries as well.
All right. Well, that is amazing. And I see you guys have done a phenomenal job with this book, and it's exciting, like I said, to see, like you said, an African-American family, Black family on the front cover. They look just like you. The story is about you, and it's a positive story. And then even though this is focused on children, your families can get together and actually enjoy the book together. And that's the most important part about this amazing book itself. And Kristi, I've really enjoyed having you on the show this evening. And Harper, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Well, I've enjoyed having you on this evening too, sweetheart. You both have been amazing guests, and I really appreciate your time coming on. And for those who are listening, remember, we have this amazing book called Harper Counts Her Blessings, and I think you all will enjoy it. Please support Kristi and Harper. And again, like I said, we thank you both for coming on the show. If you all have any questions for me, you're more than welcome to reach out to me on my author page, which is on Facebook as well, or you can go directly to www.sbilc.com, because for those who don't know, the Author's Corner is collaborated with WSBI starting in 2021. So we only have a couple more months on this show specifically, but it just made more sense to combine everything, as I am the same person running both platforms. And so I'm glad, though, that I've had the opportunity to have this show completely on its own. But hey, we've got a lot of other authors coming on board in 2021. And if you are truly interested in being on the show, you still have time to reach out to me to be a guest on my other show at Kimberly, WSBILC@gmail.com. Or like I said, you can go directly to the Women's Small Business Initiative website, and you can send me an email from there if you're interested in being a guest in 2021. I will say, do not wait to the last minute. The slots are filling up extremely fast. And again, I appreciate you all coming on to the show this evening, and we will see you again next Friday. We will see you again next month on the Friday evening at 7 p.m. But until then, you all have a good evening and good night.
Good night, everyone, and thank you for tuning in tonight. We'll be back next month on Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with 2 more amazing guests. Follow us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at author Kimberly McLemore. Music by Audionautics.com.
Kimberly?